We say young people are the future leaders of tomorrow. But when will this tomorrow come if every time we go to the polls, we keep voting in the same old faces? New school politics means we have new voices, fresh faces, thanks to hashtag not too young to run. On today's episode of Politico Politica, we delve into political issues affecting young people and speak to a new kind of politician, a model politician as he calls himself. My name is Isabella Akinseye and the show starts now.
Politico Politica with Isabella Akinseye.
Today on Politico Politica, we look at new school politics, and to do justice to that is a new school politician. He is an architect, activist, public policy specialist and politician. He holds a bachelor's degree in architecture from the University of Nottingham, a master's degree from Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, and a second master's degree in research and public policy from the University of Lagos. GRV, as he's popularly called, is a firm believer in equity, social welfare, and justice. He contested for the chairmanship of Ikeja local government in 2017 under the umbrella of Kowa Party. He sits on the board of Al Huda Construction Nigeria and the Delta International Commercial City Limited. He's also the founder of Spatial Tectonics. He's very vocal against the introduction of GMOs in Nigeria and has been on the forefront of the many anti-GMO campaigns. He's currently seeking to represent Lagos West Senatorial District under the umbrella of the People's Democratic Party. Gbadebo, welcome to Politico Politica.
Good to be here. Thank you.
When I think about the Senate, I think about old men, people who have been governors maybe twice, and this is their retirement plan. Yeah. They're in their 70s, they're very old. And I see you, and you're running for Senate. You're 35.
Exactly.
So this new school politics, what is it really about?
Well, we want to try and change the narrative. I think it's important that we change the idea that the Senate is a place people go to retire. It's very important that people with fresh ideas that can actually change this country go into the Senate and go into the House of Rep. I mean, participate in politics in general. But we need to get away from the idea that you need to have been a former governor to go and retire in the Senate, or you need to be a certain age to go to the Senate. The Senate is supposed to be a part of the government where the ideas and policies that can be negotiated by the entirety of the assembly can come together and say, okay, let's fashion a way forward. And I think more than anything, 6-7 million people are under the age of 35. They need representation there as well.
So we associate a younger age when it comes to new school politics. But how will this really deliver the dividends of democracy?
I think that new, fresh ideas are more in tune with the times, right? We cannot continue doing things the way we've been doing it, expecting and hoping that something different is going to come out of it. We live in a digital age now. There are a lot of new ideas, a lot of fresh ideas on how we can move forward, from things in education to healthcare to even sustainability and the energy sector. And we need new thinking, and that's what politics is supposed to be about, where as every generation becomes the determining demographic, they have a say in the people that are leading them, and they have a say in the kind of policies and ideas that are being pushed forward by their leadership.
So I hear you, new ideas, fresh ideas, but the voter, are these new voters? They're the same old voters who are used to playing politics as usual. How will they really key into this new school politics?
I will not agree with that the voter is the same old voter. There are so many people that have turned 18 in the last 2 years, and they've all registered, and these are people of the social media generation, right? The politicians majorly are kind of more of the same, but the voters, the demographic is changing. Now, the question and task that every politician has is, how do you channel your visibility to these people, and how do they respond to you, and how can you get them bothered enough to turn out on election day? Because they are asking for a new kind of interaction. They're asking for a new kind of dynamic. They are not the easiest ones to buy, you know. They want something new. These are people that are coming to the job market and they know that employment is at an all-time high. What are you going to do? These are people that are looking to solve their problems themselves using so many new avenues, from the social media to just entrepreneurship and new technologies. So we need to I also believe that we need to change demographic, the voting demographic, to people that will start asking questions, start holding their politicians and representatives accountable. And that's how this country will move forward.
But what about the block of voters, the market men, the market women, the people who will actually go to the polling stations, not the Twitter activists?
Yes.
Are they also keyed into this new school politics?
I will not say they are keyed into it just yet. And even this new school politics, we also have to be a bit careful with it, because politics is for everybody. It's not just for the young 18-year-olds. It's also for the older market woman, the older gentleman, you know, the people at the grassroots, the elite. A politician is supposed to represent them all. We just need to interact with them, speak the language that they know, affect their lives as much as you can, and make sure that you can take your message to them in a way they can understand. And you'll be surprised, everybody wants fresh ideas. Everybody wants a breath of fresh air in Nigerian politics.
So let's talk about this block of young voters,
Yes.
the ones that are on Twitter, the ones that are saying we want to hear from our leaders, the people who want to represent us. You know, some weeks ago, we saw the two major presidential candidates come up, and they're old. They're in their 70s. And there was this thing going on Twitter that you're the same people who say hashtag not too young to run, but now you're all rejoicing, hashtag articulate, there's Buhari. So really and truly, like, are these people really ready to put their money where their mouth is?
I don't think we should limit their reaction based on the presidential candidates. It takes a lot to be able to become president of this country. This country is very complex. There's 6 different states, different people, different tribes, different issues. It takes so much. Nigeria is not a complicated, Nigeria is a very complicated amalgam. Do you understand? I think the Not Too Young to Run bill did a lot for youth. I think it did. You have a lot of youth representation or youth coming out for assembly, places in assembly, House of Rep, and look at me, Senate. And that emotion, you heard a lot of people carrying it in the political parties, not too young to run, not too young to run. And it made way for a lot of people. In fact, in PDP, the House of Rep nomination ticket was reduced by 1 million. It reduced from, I think, 2.5 to 1.5. And in the document, it expressly said to take into account the Not Too Young to Run bill. There is more to our politics than the president or even the governor. Your House of Assembly member, your House of Rep representative, your senator, these are very, very important. Even your councillor, your local government chairman, these are very important roles that we also need to pay a lot of attention to.
But if these young people actually come out, they say, okay, I'm submitting myself to run for public office, House of Rep, Assembly, and they don't have the money, will they really be able to do this new school, or do they have to borrow from the old school of politics, which is associated with big spending, money politics?
The reason why our politics is so expensive generally is because of the level of poverty. We copy systems and we don't do what it takes to actually sustain those systems. So for instance, in England and America, where we look to them for their democracy, you see that there are welfare nets, so that a person does not need to talk to a politician to collect 1,000 naira. He can collect money from the government while he's unemployed, unemployment benefits, right? You have credits You have banks that actually give you loans. You go to school or you come out as an apprentice, you can get a loan to buy a house. You can get a loan to buy a car. So these things allow for democracy to thrive in the true sense of it. But there is no such thing here. So you find that a politician almost becomes like a social welfare net. There's somebody in Alimosho, D2, that got into an accident, and he or she will send you a text, I'm in the hospital. Shebi, you want to represent me? Help me, right? I can tell you how many of those kind of messages I get. You don't even know which one is real, which one is fraudulent. But that's the point. Because of the extent of poverty in this country, people look to the politician, try and milk him or her as much as they can, with the idea that when they go, they are not going to come back, and they are just going to go and get money for themselves. So it becomes very transactional. So that was just explaining the problem that we have. I also feel that if you want to be a leader, you need to be resourceful. You need to be able to be resourceful enough to solve problems. And being resourceful also ties into being able to raise money. You might not be able to raise as much money as people that are stealing money or have their hands directly tied into the treasury, but you can raise enough that you balance with your time, your network of influencers, your network of friends, that you can gather and run a successful campaign.
But won't you say that some of these young people are the same people who will say, you're inexperienced, what do you want to go and do there? Go and first face something, go and start a family first. Go and run something, an organization before you think you can lead us. So the young people are saying we want more young people there, but deep down they're like, let's not give them a chance.
You are right to a certain extent, but there's so many different type of people. I remember somebody tweeted that Gbadebo Rhodes-Vivour is going to go into the Senate by God's grace and is going to bring such a breath of fresh air and new life. And then a young person tweeted under that quote and said, how can he go from local government chairman to Senate? This is ridiculous. And someone came under and said, the experience you are talking about, what has he led Nigeria to? It's not just about experience. We live in a very mediocre country, and we need to tell ourselves the truth. We discovered oil at the same time that they did in the Emirates, but we are nowhere close. There are no 20-year plans that we can see people feasibly walking towards. The healthcare system is a mess. Today now, you're already planning for how you send your children abroad even before you've had those kids. It just seems that we are constantly nose-diving. Healthcare, education, quality of life, employment, labor figures, they're all saying that. So this experience that people are talking about, what is the experience in? Mediocrity? So it's time for fresh ideas to come into the Senate. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And people will always have different things to say. I think we just need to focus our energies on the ones that are thinking like us, that want the same things we want, and just focus and push that way. Because if you stop to throw a stone at every dog that barks your way, you never get to where you're going.
Thank you very much. And that's where we conclude on our topic of the day segment. But when Politico Politica returns, we will be looking at politics and more, where Gbadebo shares his journey into the political world.